Lesson number 14 of Ethics, Governance and Sustainability. Lesson number 14 on sustainability takes into its purview the concepts of sustainable development, sustainability terminologies, wherein we'll be discussing many terminologies in terms of sustainability, corporate sustainability, why is it an imperative, mostly asked in exams, KSA, the concept of KSA, and the triple bottom line approach. The concept of triple bottom line has already been discussed in lesson number 13. So I suggest students to go through that particular lesson video on lesson number 13, wherein we have discussed the concept of triple bottom line. These are not two different concepts. The two concepts are still the same, right? Try to understand that. So firstly, let us look into what is the meaning of sustainable development. So this definition which you're looking on the slide, that is the most popular definition of sustainable development. So do not get confused with many definitions. Try to stick with this particular definition. So, what does this definition say? It says that it is a development wherein the needs of the present generation are met without compromising with the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. Which means, say for example, there is a water reserve. Right. So where you are utilizing such water reserve for the purpose of supply of fresh drinking water for the citizens of a particular country. Okay. So in that case, if the utilization is in such a manner that even the water resources are available for future generations to meet their own water needs, then that is what is called as sustainable development. But where you are developing at the cost of the future generation, right? So where you are overutilizing all the resources available in the, all the natural resources available or all other resources available in the present gen for the, only for the purpose of present generation, failing or not concentrating on what the future generation needs are, in such cases it is not a sustainable development. Yeah, so the significance of sustainable development has been identified by many businesses. So all the businesses now, whatever the field they are in, like if suppose say for example a paper, right? So we see many we know paper is made out of plant, which means only after destruction of, or say out of trees, you get paper, which means if you are utilizing some paper, it means you are actually depending on many trees. Like there are many trees which have been cut for the purpose of making a paper. So the business of paper, so before say 5 years or 6 years before today, there was no such thing called sustainability, or that, there is sustainability, but the businesses were not that serious. But during these last 5 to 10 years, the trend of sustainability has improved to such an extent that such businesses who are into paper, whenever they are selling your paper, they are also planting a tree simultaneously along with the sale of a particular, along with the sale of their products, they're also planting a particular tree, right? So that way they're ensuring that they're contributing towards sustainability. So one way they are, one side for their own business, they are actually depending on the resources. On the other hand, they are planting trees by which they are again contributing to the environment, right? So this is what is sustainable development. So there are four fundamental principles of sustainable development which we need to remember. They are: number one, intergenerational equity. So that is what we have seen. So it is you need to maintain that balance between the generations. So all the generations have their right on the resources, is what is generational equity. Second, sustainable use. So whatever be the usage of the product, it shall be used sustainably. And third principle talks about the equitable use. Under here, the third principle, equitable use, is that you should not think a resource is only for a particular nation, right? So even internationally, you need to ensure that every nation has some kind of a right over the natural resource, right? So if your utilization of a natural resource is impacting the survival of any other nation, then even then it is not sustainable development. So sustainable development is not confined only to a nation, it is spread across the globe, right? So equitable use is equitable use across the globe. And finally, integration. Under integration, the businesses are expected to integrate both the environmental aspects as well as the economic activities or socio-economic activities of the company, so that the resources or the natural resources are used prudently. So these are the four fundamental principles of sustainable development, which are intergenerational equity, sustainable use, equitable use, and integration. Now, let us look into various sustainability terminologies, and now I'll give you a few tips as to how you can remember the meanings of it. First is the carbon footprint. The word footprint means your presence, right? So even your presence, or say the quantity of carbon produced by you, is what is carbon footprint. So the presence of a company in terms of the carbon output generated is what is a carbon footprint. So it is basically a measure of the quantity of carbon being produced by a particular business in term by through its factories or any other manufacturing facilities. Next, the carbon offset. Carbon offsets are like pure commercial transactions, like pure financial transactions, wherein if let's assume a situation where there are two organizations and or I mean two factories, one factory is allowed to emit up to X limit of carbon emissions, and the similar limit is applicable even for the other factory. But this factory had consumed the existing limit, but the other factory hasn't consumed any of its limits, right? So in such cases, since this particular factory A requires more carbon to be produced, right? So instead of reducing its dependence on carbon emissions, it instead of it buys such carbon offsets from the other business, and the other business will sell it at a particular price, for because of which this particular factory will have an additional carbon offset limit, and it can emit more carbon than what it is permitted for, because it has purchased the additional limit from any other business, and such other factory or business will invest such money in promoting such activities which would ensure which would ensure lesser carbon emissions, right? So that is what is carbon offsetting. So it is usually done in a financial system wherein two companies, one company sells its carbon limits and the other company buys that carbon limits, and in consideration of such carbon limits, the company will increase its carbon produce. Okay? So that is what is the concept of carbon offsetting. Next, the concept of carbon neutral. Carbon neutral is a situation which arises because of carbon offsetting, wherein because of the carbon offsetting, one person is not emitting so and so carbon, and the other person is emitting the excess carbon, thereby making it carbon neutral. Right. So if suppose say both the companies are producing carbon, then it is like excess of carbon produced. But here the situation is carbon neutral. So this person, I mean the person who is selling the carbon limits, he is not, or that particular factory is not emitting carbon, and the other factory is emitting the carbon to the extent which is not emitted by the other factory, thereby making it carbon neutral. Here it is zero. I mean here the level of thing which is eligible to emit, so that is X. So here it is eligible to emit more than that particular limit of sale X, right? So now that this carbon neutral company, this third I mean this second factory is not emitting carbon into atmosphere, so that particular limit to which it is not emitting the carbon into atmosphere is being utilized by the other entity, thereby making it carbon neutral. So carbon neutral is always a consequence of carbon offsetting. Next, clean development mechanism. So what is this concept of clean development mechanism? So clean development mechanism is a byproduct of Kyoto Protocol, wherein the developed countries are encouraged to engage themselves in certain projects which are like clean development projects in developing countries through emission reduction projects or emission limitation projects, whatever. So through the Kyoto Protocol, the developed countries are given an obligation to go into the developing countries and ensure that the developing countries are having clean mechanisms in place. So that is why it is a clean development mechanism. So on the clean development mechanism, the trigger point is the developed countries coming into developing countries as as a consequence of the Kyoto Protocol. Next, cradle to grave. So as the name suggests, cradle means the where the baby is being kept, right? And it's like indicating the birth, and grave is something which indicates death. So cradle to grave means a product right from the beginning stage, that is right from the raw material, procurement of raw material till it is consumed. So cradle to grave is that which is nothing but the life cycle of a particular product is what is meant by cradle to grave. And then cradle to cradle, right? So cradle to cradle means a product right from its birth, it goes to an end, so it becomes an end finished product, but again the finished product is used as a raw material for some other process. In that case we call it as cradle to cradle, right? So a raw material of a particular product which turns out to a finished product, it is again used as a raw material for a new product. So that is what is a cradle to cradle. So it's like giving birth to again being itself as a raw material for some other material, for some other product. So that is what is meant by cradle to cradle. Next, ecological footprint. So what is meant by ecological footprint? It is a measure of the demand of humans on the Earth's ecosystems. Okay? So what level of demand the humans have from the natural resources this Earth is processing. So that is what is an ecological footprint. So it doesn't just end there. So the concept of ecological footprint also gives you a data, or it represents the amount of the productive land and sea area which is needed to regenerate the resources the human population consumes. So depending upon the demand the human population has on the planet Earth, it will also calculate as to what level of productive land and sea are required for the uses of the humans. And in case there is any deficit, so what are the measures to be taken to make sure the gap is being filled is also being discussed on the concept of ecological footprint. Next, we have the environmental performance index. So this basically is a method of benchmarking the performance of a country in terms of its environmental policies. So how does a country perform in terms of its environment is what is an environment performance index. So this again is an index made by the United Nations. Next, Energy Star. So this we have seen day in day out on all the refrigerators at our home. So on your refrigerator, if you observe, there would be 3-star, 5-star, 4-star, and all, right? So that is a star which represents the efficiency of that particular appliance. So all the electronic appliances, fixtures, or any other utilities, they have an Energy Star, the highest being the best. So this is particularly this Energy Star is a program wherein they evaluate the efficiency or the energy efficiency of all the electrical appliances. Next, we have the concept of ethical consumerism. So this is for us. So as a consumer, how do you consume? So what is your agenda, or let us say what is your criteria before you select a particular product or a service, right? So where your thought process is something wherein even if you're compromising at the cost, but you are ready to take a product the company of which is unethical, or the product per se is not sustainable, but if you're ready to make use of such product, let us say plastic. So day in day out everyone advertises that plastic is something which is injurious to health, but still we do not hesitate to purchase products which are utilizing plastic, right? So that means we are not doing ethical consumerism. So ethical consumerism is about the consumer, and it deals with the purchase of the products which do not harm or which do not exploit the workers who are actually producing the particular product, and the impact is something which is minimized through the way we purchase the products. Let us say we all stop purchasing plastic. Do you think all the any product would be produced with the help of, with taking raw material plastic as a raw material? Definitely not, right? So just because we as consumers are ready to use such products made of plastic because they are lesser in cheaper in price, even the manufacturers are willing to manufacture with the help of plastic, right? Even though it is not a biodegradable resource, correct? So when the moment consumer realizes the principles of sustainability, even the businesses will start adopting, because if the consumer is not willing to purchase your product, who else will you sell that for, right? That's why ethical consumerism plays a really important role in terms of sustainability. Next, what we have is EUI, which is energy use intensity. So this is particularly a measurement which measures the usage of a building's energy. So where there is a big building, say use building consisting of many complexes, many commercial offices, then this EUI represents the entire energy consumed by all the businesses in a particular building. So that is what is EUI, energy use intensity. Next, the concept of global warming. This is very important. So global warming means, as the name suggests, you are actually increasing the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere, right? So the average increase in the temperature of the atmosphere near the Earth's surface is what is called as global warming. So where the average temperature near the Earth's atmosphere is increasing, there are many causes for it, and one major cause for it is the emission of greenhouse gases. right? So we have seen we have seen the concept of greenhouse gases, and we have seen this, and we will see in the next terms are nothing but the greenhouse gases. So global warming is a consequence of increase of greenhouse gases in the Earth's atmosphere, right? So basically, global warming means, as the name again suggests, their warming is like increasing of temperature, which is not good. So because of this global warming, there is always climate change. Next, greenhouse effect. So greenhouse effect is again, is an effect caused due to it's a result of the human activities wherein the level of greenhouse gases are increasing in the Earth's atmosphere, right? So that is what's the greenhouse effect. And the greenhouse effect, one of the impacts of the greenhouse effect is that the ozone layer depletion. So ozone layer depletion is one major effect caused by the emission of greenhouse gases. Then the greenwashing. So what is a greenwashing? So it is kind of a corporate misrepresentation, right? Wherein it portrays before the world that it is ensuring environmental protection through many of the measures, whereas on the darker side, it is actually exploiting environment in some or the other place. For example, let us say there is a company ABC Limited which has a manufacturing facility near a bird sanctuary. So because of the chemicals released or emitted out of it, which have been leaked into the nearby lake, assume many birds which drank the water, they died, right? So in such a case, the company loses its reputation, correct? So instead, what will the company do? The company will do a project wherein it promotes the environmental importance in a different part of the region, and only that will be highlighted in the media or in the news, whereas the actual problem caused by the company near the bird sanctuary will not be revealed. So that is a complete misrepresentation made by the company wherein it is greenwashing its own disastrous activities. So now, as a person, as a prudent stakeholder, when you look at the initiatives taken by the company to protect the environment, we will just assume that the company gives utmost significance to environment, whereas in fact in another place it had actually caused some problem to the environment. This is the concept of greenwashing, wherein they greenwash the darker side of the particular corporate. So that's the reason why it is referred to as a corporate misrepresentation, wherein it will present itself as a green public image, and it will publicize all the green initiatives which it had taken, which are false or which mislead the company to be a sustainable company. Okay, so that is what is the concept of greenwashing. And finally, life cycle assessment. So life cycle assessment is nothing but assessing a particular process involved in producing a product, right from the stage of procurement of raw materials, use of such raw materials, until the disposal of the end of the particular product after the useful life of the product, is what is life cycle assessment or life cycle sustainability. So basically, life cycle assessment is to ensure that whether the product whichever has been produced by the company is sustainable throughout its life cycle or not. So even if at a single stage it is utilizing some process wherein it is not sustainable in nature, then you cannot call the product as a sustainable product. So right from the cradle till the grave, the assessment is done at each and every stage of the development of the particular product. So that is what is called as a life cycle assessment. So these are the terminologies utilized which need a proper importance, and we need to give proper attention to each and every term whichever you're seeing on this slide, for the reason that they ask at least 2 to 3 terms of this would be asked in your which will be tested in your exam, right? So be thorough with these meanings and try to relate the meaning with the name of the particular term. That is very important. So now let us look into the concept of corporate sustainability. So sustainable businesses is something which has been like a major concern for governments across the globe. So nowadays, the concept of corporate sustainability has been given more significance, right? So what is the corporate sustainability and what does it focus on? It focuses on, firstly, environmental protection, secondly, the social justice, and then economic development, right? So environment protection, social justice, and economic development, and at the same time recognizing the simultaneous growth of the corporate in terms of its profits, right? So corporate sustainability doesn't necessarily mean you're only focusing on environment and you're not focusing on your profit making. So it is like recognizing the principle of profitability, and on the same line, and giving the same importance to environmental, social, and economic factors. So that is a sustainability. So it is basically a business approach wherein it creates the long-term shareholder value through its economic, environmental, and social developments. So it ensures the practices, it ensures that all the business practices of a particular corporate, they are built around taking into consideration the social and environmental factors, right? And finally, in order to better understand the meaning of corporate sustainability, we need to differentiate it with corporate social responsibility. So what is the big difference between corporate sustainability and corporate social responsibility? So corporate sustainability takes into picture the concept of the business wherein the profits are also generated, and at the time of generation of profits, they are, the business shall ensure that it is not having a negative impact on the environment or other social factors. So that is what is corporate sustainability. Whereas corporate social responsibility does not talk about business, does not talk about profits. It only talks about the responsibility of that particular business towards the society, towards the people, towards the planet, right? So that is what is corporate social responsibility. They are under the concept of corporate social responsibility. The responsibility of the business in terms of its profits is not taken into purview. It is strictly confined only in respect of the responsibility of the business towards the society and the planet. It does not talk about the profit. Whereas under corporate sustainability, it actually talks about the profit, and while making profits, how do they concentrate even on the factors of environment and other social factors is what's the concept of sustainability. So both the concepts of corporate sustainability and corporate social responsibility are two different concepts and they cannot be clubbed together, right? So what, why is sustainability an imperative? So by imperative, we mean very important and it's something which you cannot miss on. So every corporate is not trying itself to have products which are sustainable in nature. So what are the reasons for it? Number one is that globally, all the workforces, that is labor and workers, and also the supply chains, that is the suppliers, they have created certain environmental pressures on the organizations, right? So they are not willing to tie up with such organizations which are not environment friendly. Second, even the consumers started, you know, being ethical consumers. So ethical consumerism has, increased its pace, wherein many countries are having consumers who are seeking out sustainable products and services. Best example is the organic products, right? Organic vegetables. So nowadays you see people were buying more of organic vegetables than the normal vegetables. The reason is ethical consumerism is something which is emphasized in many countries, right? So that is one major factor for ensuring that the companies are coming, are converting or are being in line of the sustainability. And even, the investors who are investing in a company, they're favoring to invest only in those companies which are in, or say in those businesses which are sustainable in nature and not just on a short-term basis or on a long-term basis, right? And finally, even the regulators are creating pressure on such companies which are not adopting sustainable practices. They send notices. Say you find pollution control board sending notices to many businesses which are not complying with such sustainable business practices. So these four are the major reasons for, which cause sustainability to be an imperative for any business. Now, finally, the concept of kyosei. So kyosei is a Japanese concept, and the term kyosei means living and working together for the common good. So under kyosei, it establishes certain relationship which is harmonious in nature. So harmonious, like a friendly relationship among the company. So since we are saying living and working together for the common good, so the company will work together with its customers, will work together with its suppliers, will work together with its competitors, with the governments, and along with the environment in order to be a Kyosei partner. So under the concept of Kyosei, the company will be termed as a Kyosei partner. So it partners with the customers to ensure customers are getting sustainable products. It partners with the suppliers to ensure the suppliers are supplying sustainable raw material. It partners with its competitors to ensure that they are collaborating with each other to develop a sustainable product, or in order to promote sustainable products on their own. It partners with the governments to ensure that the government is coming with a policy to promote sustainable use of the products, and then finally with the environment to ensure the environment is protected. So chaos, is basically it relates at or aims at establishing relationship, right? So when it's establishing relationship, it means one of the the company itself is ready to get in relationship with the other five key stakeholders, and such relationship is nothing but a KSA partner. Okay, so we will better understand the concept of KSA when we look into the five stages involved in KSA. So this is the most important slide for the concept of KSA, which you need to remember and reproduce in your exams. So KSA has five stages, and what are these five stages? Let us look into it. Stage one is the economic survival of the company. So KSA says initially when you're setting up your business for the first 3 to 5 years, you better concentrate on the how to survive in the market, how to survive in the industry. So economic survival is the most important for any business. Only then you can start thinking of something else, right? So for the economic survival of the company, you need to ensure that is the primary focus for you in the initial years. Now that the company is has survived like many economic pressures, it had a particular process. Now it is like it has adopted particular process in place. Now is the time for stage two, wherein the company will or like the managers will start talking with the workers, start getting to know the kind of problems faced by the workers, and both of them will start cooperating each other to promote the business of the company. So that is what is the stage two, which is cooperating with the labor. So there cannot be many differences between the worker, no, the managers and the labor, right? So both of them are like equally responsible for the profit making of the company, and hence they start sharing the profits of the company. So after the economic survival, you start first thinking about your insider, that is the labor. Ask them what their problems are. Tell them, no, this is what had happened in the last years because we were thinking of the economic survival. Now that we are stable, now we would like to know what kind of difficulties you make, what kind of changes you want in your working atmosphere. We are ready to do it, and then start making such changes so that the labor are making, are feeling comfortable to work with your company. So that is what is your stage two. And the stage three, now we go a step ahead wherein we start focusing not just on my employees or the workers, but also on other stakeholders, say the external stakeholders who are outside the company. So cooperating outside the company, who are they? So they are my customers, they are my suppliers, they are the other parties who are not the insiders of the company. Yeah. So like what happens when you're cooperating with them, even the competitors, right? So that is when we would promote the concept of KOSA partnership. We start engaging ourselves with other persons, and we'll also promote the principles of sustainability and other good principles along with the other stakeholders. We start to get to know their needs, their requirements, their grievances, and then start addressing the same to make sure that the company's products are well received by the customers, and the suppliers are willing to supply to the company, and even the competitors are having a fair competition among themselves. So that is the stage three, which is cooperating outside the company. And then stage four, where the company is all set, it has a proper mechanism in place in this country of its origin. It starts expanding its wings. It goes global now, right? So right from addressing national issues or say its own issues, it now starts addressing the global issues, right? So it starts raising voice over certain global issues of sustainability or global issues of the global issues in terms of its own businesses or in terms of the industry in which it is operating, right? So it plays its role like adding value to such global activism, which had it's just being a part of a particular activism, right? Say globally many companies in terms of uh, corporates, say there are many companies are coming out with asking, are like requesting the United Nations to have a common patent mechanism. So the TRIPS agreement, why do you think there's a TRIPS agreement which has come? It's a global activism. So wherein the many countries, they wanted a uniform law for patents in all the countries which are signing that pact. Right. So that is a global activism. So you as a corporate, you can still go involved in such global activism only when you are like successful in all the previous three stages. And then after the global activism, the final stage, which is very rare, is the government itself also will become a partner, a KOC partner with your organization. So this is very, very difficult. However, that is the final stage which is emphasized in the KOC, which is government becoming a partner, a KOC partner with the organization, right? So KOC partnership with the government, wherein now what happens once the government becomes a partner, so any problem which the industry faces, you can easily address it to, or not address, but you can easily communicate it with the government, and the government also gets to know, because it is a KOC partner, it wants the common good of all the people who are partners, so it will come up immediately to address such particular issue. So that is what is a stage 5. So the basic concept of KOC is that all these, no, as we have seen in the previous slide, the customers, the suppliers, the competitors, the government, and the environment should work hand in hand to ensure that there is a common good which is commonly shared by all these stakeholders. So that is what is the concept of KOC and the 5 stages of KOC. Right? And then, as told earlier, the triple bottom line approach, which it has already been discussed in lesson number 13, and it's the same concept. So do not get confused. Do not think these are two different concepts under two different lessons. It's the same concept. However, the words social, environment, and economic are used instead of people, planet, and profit. That's it. Right? So for social, it is nothing but people. Environment is nothing but planet. And economic is nothing but profit. So triple P or SEE is one and the same. There is no big difference. So triple bottom line approach is same under both the topics, lesson number 13 and lesson number 14. Yeah. All the best. Thank you.